Set.
Calling this meeting to order. And this is a regular meeting of the Planning Commission of the Town of Clarkdale. It's Tuesday, October 15th and 4:30 PM. And may we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Conk. Commissioner Spence,
Present.
Commissioner Kelly. Vice Chair Johnson. And Chair DeBlanc.
Here. All right. Welcome, everyone. This is a public comment. The Planning Commission invites the public to provide comments at this time. Members of the Planning Commission may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38-431.01, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date. Persons interested in making comments on a specific agenda item are asked to complete a brief form and submit it to the clerk or liaison during the meeting. Did that happen? All right, good. Pardon me? Do we have paper for public comment?
Folder's right there by the chair. Or that.
Thank you.
chair.
And the first thing, we're going to do approval of the minutes and the public hearing. Before, let me wait for Ruth. So right now, where we are, each speaker is asked to limit their comments to 5 minutes. All right. So right now, what's up is approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. Do we have any discussion, consider and act upon the draft minutes? So do we have any comments or do we have a motion?
I have a comment on the minutes. When we had that meeting, we were talking, there was discussion on, can you guys hear me? Okay. If I'm
Make sure
talking
you're
in-
heard. Make sure you can be heard.
Okay,
Thank you.
there we
Yeah.
go. At that meeting, we talked about time limits, and in particular, I'm questioning the conditional use permit. And I believe that staff was recommending no time limits for anything. So I'm just wondering, how is this going to be reflected if we approve these minutes?
I'm sorry.
For the conditional use permit?
Oh, right. So we have been having conversations internally and with our town attorney to discuss how to proceed with those. So that will be in the next meeting. We'll have that conversation.
So should we approve these minutes because it says conditional, we're approving the conditional use permit and everything?
No, we're not approving the conditional use permit with this. That was just the discussion that was tabled.
Okay,
So we'll bring it back at the next meeting.
okay. I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, so is there anything else or do we have a motion about the minutes from the previous meeting?
I make a motion that we approve the meetings notes from the last meeting.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I will second the motion.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, very good. New business. So that part's handled. New business, public hearing. The Highlands at Clarkdale Preliminary Development Plan.
Preliminary plat. Preliminary plat.
I'm reading from
I
the
think you're-
agenda.
That's an old one. Yeah, that's the old page.
All right, so we're here. No, those are the minutes from the previous meeting.
Yes.
We're on this.
Right. Preliminary plat.
So we're at new business, the public hearing,
Right.
the Highlands at Clarkdale Preliminary Development Plan.
It's the preliminary plat.
All right. Would you say that so everyone can hear it? I don't have
Yes,
it.
it's the preliminary plat.
Agenda item, public hearing, the Highlands at Clarkdale Preliminary Development Plan. Planning Commission will hold a public hearing to take public comment on application 230147 submitted by John Lash, Plateau Partners 2, APN 400-05-010G regarding the Highlands at Clarkdale for approval of the preliminary plat comprised of 48 single-family residential lots on approximately 18.56 acres of an approximately 23.84 acre vacant parcel of land generally located at the northwest corner of State Route 89A, Cement Plant Road and Clarkdale Parkway. So, would you like to give, go ahead. All right, so we're going to have a report.
Okay, let's try it again. In your packet, you have the staff report for this project. And we have a PowerPoint presentation we're going to walk through to discuss the details. Oh, and I need my buttons. No, I don't want to work. Oh, oops, there we go. So first, let's talk for a minute about what a plat is, and that's a map that sets forth the subdivision of land or airspace if it's a condominium and fixes the location of lots on lots, streets, roads, parks, and other public and private spaces. This is a legal document. Everything gets surveyed. There are legal descriptions for each lot. So we're looking at just the subdivision of land this afternoon. Come on. There we go. So this is the preliminary plat for the Highlands at Clarkdale. It shows 48 single-family residential lots of approximately 8,600 square feet. The size is reduced for the allotment for the density transfer from the wash on the north side of the project. So that area is then transferred and deducted from each slot. Tonight, we're only talking about the subdivision of land on the 18 acres. We're not talking about the remaining parcel. That tract will be, may come back for future development. So this site, this portion of the site is zoned R1. Which again, 10,000 minimum square foot lot size. The density transfer for the wash protection brings the size down, the square footage to 8,690 square feet. And again, this is for the R1 portion only. The commercial set part is not under consideration this evening. Come on. There we go. So these are the residential single-family development standards. Again, the minimum lot size of 10,000 square feet or is modified by a density transferred, maximum building height of 2.5 stories, not to exceed 35 feet, maximum lot coverage of 30%, minimum lot frontage 60 feet, minimum average lot width is 80 feet, and the minimum setbacks from the property lines are 20 feet from the front and rear and 10 from each side. So how does R1 zoning apply to this project? So basically, we end up with 48 single-family homes on lots of at least 8,960 square feet with a maximum height of 35 feet or 2.5 stories for homes and accessory uses. Streets will be built to MAG standards and dedicated to the town for perpetual maintenance. They will include a vertical curb, 2-foot gutter, and 4-foot sidewalk on the interior of the project. So these are the streets that are in the subdivision. The developer will still be responsible for construction of utility infrastructure. Residents will pay connection fees, but no additional contribution to utility improvements can be required. And design review does not apply to single-family residential. So the general plan designation for this area is mixed use. The intent here is to provide areas specifically to support mixed-use developments, which include any combination of residential, commercial, or industrial zoning districts. Future designation of mixed-use land should require a planned area development or similar plan prior to redesignation. So this land has already been designated, so they don't have to provide that plan. Okay, so again, talking about general plan conformance, the land use element of the general plan classifies land by broad categories of uses and provides guidance relative to development potential. The purpose of the mixed-use development or planned area development in the general plan is to provide areas specifically intended to support a compatible complementary uses. Mixed-use districts can include any combination of residential, commercial, or zoning districts. Come on, buttons. So I want to talk a minute about development impact fees and development agreements. There were several questions at the neighborhood meeting about this topic. So essentially, in about 2011, the legislature adopted a broad swath of regulations that significantly changed how municipalities can charge development impact fees. And so it really reduced the things that a municipality can charge those fees for, sets up requirements for studies to be able to justify those fees. And so it's really substantially changed how we deal with these. So in Title IX, which governs cities and towns, Section 9-46305 outlines or sets forth those statutes required that determine what's required for development impact fees. So development impact fees assessed by a municipality under this section are subject to the following requirements. They have to result in a beneficial use to the development. The municipality shall calculate the development fee based on the infrastructure improvement plan adopted pursuant to this section. The development fee shall not exceed a proportionate share of the cost of necessary public services based on service units needed to provide necessary public services to the development. Costs for necessary public services made necessary by new development shall be based on the same level of service provided to existing development in the service area. So I want to touch on the infrastructure improvement plan. So that plan, most communities and municipalities developed those back in 2011. They're pretty expensive to write. And so Clarkdale decided not to write one at that time. So we don't have an infrastructure improvement plan. Statutorily, without one, we can't levy any development impact fees on the developer for this project. We have one underway right now. We are working on a water and wastewater master plan. We've budgeted $300,000 this year for that study. All right. So I want to take a second here also to talk about legislative versus administrative decisions. There are two types of decisions that a public body makes. They're either legislative, which means they're adopting new rules, they're changing a zoning district, they're changing the general plan. Those are all legislative decisions that set forth policy and regulations for future use. Administrative decisions are simply implementing those policies and those regulations that have been adopted through the legislative process. So an administrative decision like the one that's we're looking at here tonight is one that looks at a project, does it meet the minimum standard? Yes, no. And if it does, then it proceeds through the process. So again, back to the development fees. So the only fees we can impose absent the IIP are the sewer and water connection fees based on the existing adopted fee schedule. So we can't charge for anything else. We can't require them to make contributions to future improvements or anything like that. We can't require improvements beyond the minimum set forth in code without an IIP to substantiate the need for the improvement, or without a development agreement, which we cannot do in an administrative decision situation. So these are the improvements to the right-of-way that are proposed. This is the Clarkdale Parkway frontage road half section. The developer is only required to build to the center of the road on their side of the project. So on this side, there is a 2-foot shoulder, a 6-foot wide sidewalk, a 4-foot buffer to the back of the curb. And then there's a 5-foot bike lane and an 11-foot travel lane. No, where's the other one? Come on. Cement Plant Road is similar. This one has a 2-foot shoulder, an 8-foot sidewalk, no buffer, but it does include the 5-foot bike lane and an 11-foot travel lane. So the process for approving the preliminary plat and the final plat are set forth in Chapter 12. The stage 1 is the pre-application conference. We've been conversing with the developer and his consultants for quite some time now on this plat. So they have completed that pre-application conference stage. We're at stage 2 right now, which is a preliminary plat approval. Next, they'll submit all of their final engineer drawings for us to review and approve. And then the final plat comes back to town council for final review and approval. So there are specific requirements in code. These are all the administrative things that the applicant has to provide at the preliminary plat stage of the process. So these are the things that they have to turn in to have a complete application so that we can move the project forward. They're less descriptive at the preliminary plat stage because right now we're just trying to get the configuration set out on the land, and then they can come back with far more detailed improvement plans at a later date. So the first thing that's required is a letter of intent from the developer describing the subdivision and proposed name of subdivision and its location. We've received the letter of intent and it meets the requirements set forth in code. Contact information for the owner of record and the applicant. We have contact information that's included on the plat and in the application for the owner of the record and the applicant. The top copy of title work has been provided. Contact information for the engineering, land planning, surveying, architectural firm has all been provided. That's on the plat and in the application. Recordation information for subdivisions adjacent to has also been provided on the plat. They show the scale, the written scale on a bar graph, the north point, all of those orientation items are shown on the plat. Total acreage and dimensions is included. Fully dimensioned boundary lines have been included on the plat. The vicinity map shows where it is relative to other landmarks in town has been included on the plat. The names, widths, and of adjacent streets that connect to and interior to the project have been included. The approximate location of all existing proposed or public-private easements or rights-of-way for drainage appurtenances have been included on the plat and in the flood control report. Typical lots and corner dimensions and corner lot dimensions have been included. There are no lots of more than 4 sizes. All of the lots have been numbered individually and consecutively, and the total number of dwelling lots has also been included. Designation of all land reserved for parks, recreational facilities, school sites, and fire stations. None are required for this project, so there have been none included. All areas and parcels not for single-family residential use have been identified, including by acreage on the plat. We have a sanitary sewer report. We have a letter of serviceability from the town so that they connect to the town sewer. Locations, elevations, and sizes of culverts. Again, all of this information has been identified either on the plat or in the flood control report. Floodway and floodplain boundaries is determined by FEMA. Those have been included in the flood control report. Engineers' estimates for stormwater runoff also included in the flood control report. Oh, come on. Proposed cut and fill, you saw that in the packet as well. That was the green and tannish color. Proposed use of all lots, tracts, or parcel, that's all have been described on the plat. Location and dimensions of existing or proposed structures, irrigation ditches, water wells, pipelines, and so forth have been included in utility design in the plat submission. That's another sheet that was in that packet. They had all of the utilities, tentative locations identified. Again, letters of serviceability for all utilities. We have all of those. They're all on file. The contour intervals are identified. And again, no schools or parks sites are required. The zoning of all adjacent land has been included. To date, there's been no decision made on whether there will be an HOA or a property owners association at this time. And the Phase 2 county flood control report was received and reviewed by town and approved by town engineer Mark Woodson. So the responsibilities of the commission this evening are to make a recommendation based on the following findings. The proposed subdivision conforms to the adopted general plan goals, which we discussed. Staff finds that this subdivision does conform to the general plan goals, objectives, and policies as set forth in the land use element. The subdivision is reviewed and approved, will not be detrimental to the public health, safety, and general welfare. Staff finds that they're in compliance with that. Environmental concerns conform to adopted standards. All environmental issues conform to adopted engineering and related standards. Design of the proposed subdivision is sensitive to the physical characteristics of the site. The design preserves the wash areas on the north and west side of the subject parcel. Proposed subdivision is consistent with the provisions and intent of the zoning code requirements applicable to the property. We have reviewed this project and found it to be consistent with the provisions of the intent of the zoning code. And it does comply with the development standards set forth for the R1 zoning district. The proposed subdivision conforms to the improvement standards and design standards set forth in these regulations and other applicable town, county, state, and federal regulations. This project conforms to all of those regulations as required. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that the commission has. The developer is here if you have questions of him, or if he wants to make a presentation.
We'll do all that before the public comment.
Correct.
I just wanted to clear up, I saw 2 references to sidewalks. So is it 4 feet within the plat and the
Correct.
8 feet is the public?
Right.
Okay, thanks.
So I can back up maybe.
Wanted to clear that up.
I guess not. It's not clicking. So there's the cement plant road where it's 8 foot.
Right.
This is the Clarkdale Parkway where it's 6 foot.
And within.
Within the subdivision, they would be 4 foot.
Thank you.
There you go.
Did everyone hear that? Okay. So that's answered. Thank you.
Yep.
Anything?
Okay.
Would you like to ask a question? Yeah.
The points in your slides from the 1 to 28,
Mhm.
they're different than what I have here. Slightly the wording, like what you have in red, is that the latest or is this?
Yeah, I just I took some of the words out. Otherwise, I'd have 48
Okay.
slides.
Okay. Gotcha.
Thank you. Anything else? Commissioners? No.
Alrighty, then I think we can open it up to public comment.
All right. Public comment. We're going to take public comment at this time. And we're happy that you're here. Just raise your hand. I'll call on you, go to the mic and say your name and where you live and make your comment. Would you like to come up? Ruth, do you want these? The papers?
Okay, I'll
Gus
hand
will
it
get
to you
it
on the
when
way
you're
out.
finished. Thanks.
So I'm Ann Clausen, 1428 Third South Street. And I had a couple questions with regard to the trees along the wash. How far is the setback? It said that it would protect the wash, but what is the setback for taking the trees and removing trees out?
So, Ruth, are you going to answer questions at the end? At the end.
At the end,
So
yes.
we're going to make note of a question
Okay.
and we're entertaining comments as well. If you have any other
Okay,
commentary. Yeah.
okay. There was a note that she made about minimum lots of 10,000 square feet or less if there was a density transfer, and I was wondering if we
So
could
you
get
want an explanation of what that means?
the density transfer and if that is something that's on the table.
Okay.
And then at the last meeting, I wasn't here, but someone else was and wondered what kind of compensation is being made towards the school for the
All right. So
impact.
we will
in the school.
answer those questions after all public comment.
Okay.
So we got the questions.
Okay.
And is there any other comment or anything else you'd like to let us know?
But I'm glad that they have stayed within the R1 zoning. I'm happy to have for that.
Wonderful.
So,
Thank you
thank
for your
you.
comments. Yes. All right. And is there anyone else who would like to speak? Please let me know. Come forward. That was it? That's it?
Ruth, I don't know if you want to have the developer come up and give any comments.
We're gonna. All right, thanks.
Good afternoon or early evening, commissioners.
Hi.
Thanks for considering our project. I'm John Lash, the managing member for our partnership. And I think Ruth did a really good job in, explaining all the ins and outs, of what we're here for today. And I want to say, it's, our partnership has worked for, several months along with our engineers and our other consultants to try to have a plan that, conforms and meets all the standards. So, we're excited for this project and, think it'll be a nice addition to the town of Clarkdale.
Thank you.
Sure. I am here if there is any other questions anybody has.
I'm not seeing any hands from the public. So does anyone on the commission have a question for the developer? If not, what we're going to do is then address the questions that came up during comment. And our director will do that.
Okay, so let's start off first with the setback for removing trees. Let's see if I can get back here. We need new buttons. So there's actually a swath of land between the boundary of this property and and a portion of that wash that the school owns. So this project will not be in that zone at all. That's school property. They won't be doing anything in there. With respect to the density transfer, this is, so in the site plan review portion of the zoning code, we allow for density transfer to encourage people developers to preserve washes. So we allow them, because of the topography of Clarkdale and the amount of washes and wash areas that can't be built on are so prevalent, we allow them to transfer that density onto the developable land. So it's basically a square foot function. We calculate the area of the wash. We divide that by 43,560 because that's how many square feet there are in an acre, and figure out how many square feet each lot gets to reduce. So it's just a simple math calculation.
So let's just pause here a second.
Uh-huh.
And the person who had the question, is your question answered?
Yeah, there was, I think it was about 1,200 square feet per lot. It was almost 2 acres. I want to say, is that right? I remember remembering correctly. $860 is the smallest they can go.
All right, and now you the engineer? Is this your engine? All right, so this is the engineer who's going to answer your question.
Ardura. I'm the engineer for the project, and the tract for the wash open space, I believe is let's see, which one is that tract? Tract D. Tract D is 3.3 acres. We did not, and even though with the 3.3 acres, we can bring that lot size down to 500 square feet plus or minus. The smallest lot on this project is 9,570 square feet. All the rest of the lots are greater size than that, and with many of them greater than 10,000 square feet.
Thank you.
All right.
And now we have another question.
The last question was about money for the school. So as part of the PAD, when we previously considered this project, we could negotiate a development agreement. In this situation, we cannot. We don't have the IIP. We have no backup for requiring any improvements or anything like that. So we can't negotiate on behalf of the school for money for the schools. The schools are funded through property taxes, as all of you know, because you all pay them. And schools can issue bonds to fund their improvements, which is why we generally don't include money for schools in these sorts of projects. But no, there will not be any money towards the school in this project.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. Are all,
Trees, yeah, the trees, I did. Yes, that's the swath of land up here. The yellow, there's a little yellow strip with a green border around it. That's where the trees are. That's school, it's school property, right? So there's 60 feet.
But I'm just saying, I mean, you can't tell by looking at that about how many feet that is from the bank to the wash. How big is that?
It's,
How much can they approach on those trees, and will they leave trees at the back of anybody's lot if they're, because people like trees in Arizona? Can they leave those trees, or are they just gonna be clear cut?
there is 60 feet between the boundary of this site and the street. That's the distance between this project and your street, Third South. So whatever's in that 60 feet stays. That's not the developer's property. I'll let Art answer that question.
Can you get back to the preliminary plat
Don't work anyhow.
up here?
Yes, can you move the slides? Oh, well, back up, right there.
That one right there. Okay, let's just, for ease of talking, let's say north and straight up. So in order for us to do the density transfer, we protected that area between the back of those lots on the north line there and the actual property line. The wash zigzags around that area and is mostly on the school property. There is a little bit of the wash that runs through the commercial, which we're rerouting, but that's a different project at a later date. And this particular project is probably, I don't know, 40 to 50 feet away. The back of the lots are 40 to 50 feet away from the north property line. Does that help?
So that their walls will be about 100 to 110.
Oh, I don't know if they'll be that far, but because the lot has. Are you speaking about the north line there? We're talking plan up is north?
So
Yes.
we can't go back and forth. You have to address the chair.
Do we have another question or comment from the public?
All right.
All right. Anyone else? All right, thank you. So, what, public comment is complete? And are we looking for, a motion?
So next up
Action
is
item.
the action item. We've held the required public hearing.
My notes are
And so,
missing something.
yeah, that's,
My packet's missing.
so now the commission will discuss, consider, and act upon this application regarding the Highlands at Clarkdale for approval of the preliminary plat. You've heard the comments from the public, you've heard the presentation from staff, you've heard from the developer and his engineer. If there are any other questions, we'd be happy to answer them. If not, you can discuss or go to a motion.
Great. So is there anyone on the commission that has a question, a comment, something that needs to be discussed?
Let me go to this real quick while we're talking about motions. Come on. Gus, can you move it again? One more. Nope, go down. There we go. So these are
Yeah.
the motions for this evening's action. You have copies of them at your desk so you can
Yes.
read them and not have to look at the screens.
I have that. I just want to make sure that if there's any question, anything that needs to be said, anything that isn't covered. Do you have, Carol?
Yes, I
Go ahead.
want to thank the developer for reducing the number of lots and making it conform with the existing zoning. And then I'm ready to make a motion.
Let's just see if there's anyone else. Is there anyone else on the commission that has a question, comment, or anything before we take a motion? No? Go ahead, Carol.
Right, and I'll read from this. It says, I find that the preliminary plat for the Highlands at Clarkdale meet all the requirements set forth in the zoning code, chapter 12 subdivision regulations, responsibilities of the commission, and recommend approval of the preliminary plat, and that the application be forwarded to town council with a recommendation for approval.
Do we have a second?
I second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? There you have it. Thank you. Any future agenda items?
Turn it on. We will be having a meeting in November. We have a number of legislative text updates we have to address. These are things that the legislature has adopted laws that affect our zoning code or things related to that. So we will be bringing those forward at that time.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
That's complete. Before we adjourn, I want to thank everyone for being here and for your interest in the place where we all live. Thank you. Greatly appreciated. All right, do we have a motion for adjournment?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right, thanks. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, those in favor say aye.
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 All right, there you go. This was short and sweet. Thank you all, really.